everyone's jealous of what you got. No one's jealous of how you got it. Talk me through a little bit of that because, all right, everyone has the goal. Everyone, right, we talked about it, has that freedom, the place that they want to get to. A lot of people would say, yeah, I want to create a home for my family and my kids someday. Now that you've done that, looking back on the sacrifices, the discipline that was required for you to now get to that stage gate because of the ultimate macro level game that you're playing, what was that like? How did you keep those blinders on when you're building this thing yourself? Talk me through that a little bit.
Yeah, so I did a lot of work on the house myself. Had a good friend of mine help me with a bunch of it, but I think when I look back at that, it's that mindset of all the things you do when no one else is watching. It really comes down to that. That's why I actually hate social media. I don't use it. I don't look at it. It despises me. I hate reality TV. You and I have talked about this. Like I walk in the room if reality TV is on, I can't even be in the room. It's like I don't want to look at someone else's life. I want to look at mine. So, but also it's easy to do the things when everyone's watching, when the trophies are there and the press is there. It's not easy to do them day in, day out when you're alone and it's you. I think of I finished the attic and I think if there was a night I was sitting in the attic, absolutely exhausted. I cut myself. I had blood all down my pants. I'm covered in sawdust. And, it's like a Saturday night when I think all my friends are out, hanging out and I'm sitting in the attic covered in blood and sweat and probably a couple tears. And I literally just sat there Indian style. And I was just like, I just want to throw in the towel so badly. There's nobody around. I mean, my kids and wife know I'm doing this, but nobody even knows.
And what's crazy is you had a clear button you could push.
Yeah.
Just pick up the phone and call someone to do it for you.
Come do it.
Which is even, it makes it even harder.
Yeah, it's right there.
Button is right there.
Yep, I got it out. You hit the eject button and it's over.
Yeah.
And I just had, I literally just remember sitting there Indian style and just kind of hanging my head and thinking, get up, just get up. It's nobody's watching, but you're watching, and you owe it to yourself to get back up. And it was a tough night, and I got back up and pounded nails for 3 more hours and cut a bunch of wood. And, but I needed that moment, I think, to hit the rock bottom, to ask myself, are you going to hit the eject button? Or are you going to grind it out? And I think also when you've gone through experiences that force you to rock bottom like that, not rock bottom. I mean, look, I wasn't dying. I wasn't like hanging off a roof, but it was a tough time. It's like I'm working full time. I'm doing this at night on nights and weekends, and it's easy to want to hit that eject button and call it a day. But I think when you go through those experiences, once you build up that confidence that, okay, 1, I can do this and I know I can do it, but 2, if I look back at myself 5 years from now and I realize I hit that eject button, how will I feel about that? I think I would despise me as a person if I looked back and went, dude, you hit the eject button? Like, what's the matter with you? Yeah. Get up. And I think in that moment, the get up, that internal voice, that internal self-talk saying, you've got this and you have to get up, you don't have another choice, was critical. But and it's also rewarding. You look back and you go, okay, cool. I was able to get up. I was able to finish it. Now it's done. My kids have their friends up there, we have a guest bedroom up there. I've got my home office up there. Like, it's all rewarding in the end, but it's the moments in the dark at 11 p.m. when nobody's around and it's so easy to bail. Or I could have gone to bed. I could have just hopped in the shower, called it a night, go to bed. Instead, it was, nope, just keep going, So I think those are the moments when I look back to get to the next stage gate. You have to experience those. You have to put yourself into that situation to try it. And then when you hit what you think is, worst case scenario where you want to hit the eject button, just keep going. Even if it's another hour, another day, another whatever it is, just keep going. Find that mental fortitude to just push a little harder and get out of that hole. And then it got so much easier. I sprinted to the finish. Like, once I hit that point, I knew that's about as bad as it's going to get. Like, I did not want to throw in the towel up until then. And then the rest felt easy. I just cruised, I finished it, and it was done.
David Goggins actually has this thing called the 1-second decision. Like, he was, I think, Navy SEALs, whatever. But if you give up and you ring the bell, right, to call it quits when you're in training, like, that's a 1-second decision that as soon as you step in that hot shower, you're going to be like, fuck.
For the rest of your life.
Yeah. And that, it's such a cool concept, but that's, similar, like 1-second decision. You could have picked up the phone and made the call, right? And so, what does that mean for, all right, the quarter life or the person in their 20s? I think it's hard, man. Like for one, it's hard to make the sacrifice to have the discipline of deciding this is the game I'm playing, whatever that is. Maybe we can talk about what that might be, but like once you make the decision for what you want and what you're going after, whether it's freedom, whether it's the house, whatever relationship, it's burning the boats. And that's it's saying no to your friends on a Saturday night. It's saying no to golf when, like, obviously, yeah, guys, I really want to go golfing.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
of course I do.
It's
Yeah.
not that. It's I am committed to this game that I'm playing, and if I break those promises or I give up on that game, then what?
Yeah.
Right? You know, you do it because it's the temporary versus the long term. And I think a lot of people my age are going through that of constantly weighing, you know, should I be living for my future self of 5 years from now when, yeah, I really want to have the freedom and all those things, the picture of success or whatever. But, you know, my friends are calling me, you know, on Friday night to go out and to do these things. And, you know, I think there's stages, there's seasons of life and in your 20s that you go through, and sometimes you just outgrow them. But I think when you're on your way to outgrowing them, it's saying no and almost being unapologetic about it. That's so hard to do. It's so hard to do, and that's why deciding on your game is so important, right? Because if you have that ultimate thing that's the number one important thing, everything else is small compared to that. And it makes those decisions easier when you're presented with those options.
Totally agree. Yeah, it's like these little detractors that, you know, I was even thinking when I was in the lowest point in the attic, I pictured my kids up there playing. I pictured my kids in the basement when I finished it playing. Like the vision of the future was so much more powerful than the little pain that was happening along the way. So, yeah, and then making that decision of, to your point, the distractions, the things that are going to pull you away from the ultimate goal, you've got to be unapologetic about it, because while I love playing golf or whatever the scenario is, doing the thing that your friends are doing or someone asks you to do, they're playing a different game than you are. So if your game is this thing, their game might not be. Maybe their game is something else, and golf fits in perfectly. Or maybe their game is golf, you know, like that maybe they spend a ton of time on the golf course. But you have to be true to you, and you have to be unapologetic, because at the end, if you start allowing it's one there, it's one golf trip, then it's one, you know, thing here, then it's another there. And now all of a sudden you're playing your game 50% of the time, and you're playing someone else's 10% here and 20% there and 30 here. So, you know, I think that unapologetic mindset of like, does this actually align with my game, or is this someone else's game, and is this someone else's future and someone else's vision? And, you know, playing golf isn't like going to end your vision or kill it, but there's bigger decisions you make and the people you spend time with and things like that, where, you know, you have to be unapologetic and saying, I'm just going to do this. Or, hey, do you want to go on this golf trip? No, thanks. No, thanks what? I don't know, just no thanks. I don't want to go. Do you want to go out to, you know, this bar? No thanks. It's like people expect you to be like, no, I'm busy, or I have to do this other thing, or, you know, I've got the flu. Like people make that up. Like, no, I can't go, I'm sick. Well, I'm not sick, I just don't want to go. You know, like that unapologetic mindset I think is so important. It's hard to do, and it can distance you from the people that are asking you to do those things, but you have to also think, if that's the thing, like if I don't want to go out drinking or I don't want to go do that thing with them, is that even someone I should spend a ton of time with? You know, then you point back to looking in the mirror and reflecting on that. Is that the right place to even have the conversation? You know, should I spend my time there?
I almost think you have to play it out. You have to say yes to those. Like I've done it. You have to say yes enough times to their game almost. Say, just for, you know, what we're talking about, say like saying yes to those things that, you know, almost like peer pressure, like giving into what somebody else thinks you should do, and, you know, you live that so many times where it's just like you wake up the next morning, it's like, it's how do I feel after it?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and it's like going back to your game of always playing the long game is great. And I'm not saying like you can't, you know, not to have fun and not to have those moments, right? But it's you know, especially if you're trying to build something and build your life, you know, there's sacrifices that happen along the way. And I think that's one that for like people in their 20s, you know, you almost have to do it so many times that it's like, all right, enough.
Yeah.
Enough. Like I've explored this option, and you know what? This is not the game that I want to play. You know, and unfortunately, I think a lot of people get there eventually,